Good morning. It's a beautiful day in Florida. It's a little warm still because it's September, but it is a beautiful day. It's one of those rare days in September we don't have rain chances, so that's a great excuse to get the 67 out on the road. And we're going to go take a little quick trip, and we're going to visit Jim James from Racers and Rods. And I have just a nice little casual conversation with him and kind of talk about what he does and the Racers and Rods group and what they do for the car community. So we're going to take you along with us, and I hope you enjoy it. Well, hello again, everyone. We've made the trip down here to Jim's house, and this is the headquarters for Racers and Rods. And so anyways, Jim, good morning. It's good
morning.
To see you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for coming.
Oh, absolutely.
Good to see you again.
It's good to see you too as well. So tell us a little bit about Racers and Racers and Rods. They're much more than just events and car shows, right?
Well, yeah. So actually, to go way back, so we've been in business, started about almost 5 years ago. And my vision was that it would be just a media company. We started with going to car shows and taking some photos, and then bought a GoPro back then and started doing some video and that sort of thing, mostly my son and I. And so we originally were going to be, primarily a media company, and I had visions of being YouTube famous, being the next Vice Grip Garage or
Right.
Cletus McFarlane, and soon found out that probably was not going to happen. But actually, for the first 2 or 3 years, most of what we did was media, and I think let's say 3 years ago or so, 2022, 2023. We were going to as many events as we could.
Gotcha.
to get the word out on who we were.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean we did well over 100 events a year. So we were very busy. We've scaled down a little bit now, as far as that goes. So, but we still do 50 to 60 a year. So like I said, so we were really, it was Racers and Rods Media is
Right.
what it was. Never really wanted to get into doing car shows. I just, from what I saw, it was very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
The promoters, it was, and there's still, I mean, there's you can go to at least 1 or 2, and sometimes even more car shows any day on a weekend, especially when it's good weather around here. So, I just didn't want to fight, guys, if that's the word to use. I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. I just really wasn't interested. And as things progressed over the past couple of years, I had people that we've met, companies that we were working with, and things that were asking us to help them put on car shows. So
Right.
reluctantly, we kind of started doing that.
Got it.
And although we're not in it to make profit, we're not in it to make money. All of this costs money. The equipment, the travel, the people. I'm not a one-man show, so the people that work with me, all do it because they have a passion for cars. But it's expensive, if nothing else, but just the gas and the food per day. So I wanted to make sure I paid people. So the only way to do that really was to start doing more events. So we started doing that. We did that a couple years ago, kind of reluctantly, like I said. Last year, I guess between 2024 and 2025, I looked at the end of the year. We are a registered Florida LLC, so we are a business.
Right.
I carry liability insurance, so all that costs money. And I looked at the end of the year when I did the taxes and looked at how much money my business lost.
Oh no.
And it was never supposed to be that. It was always going to be a hobby, and it turned into much more than that. Just
snowballed from there, basically.
It just did.
Yeah.
So I came to a realization at the beginning of 2025. I sat down and had a long talk with myself and with my wife, and I said, one of a couple things has to happen. I'm losing too much money doing this. Number one, it has to go back to being a hobby.
Right.
I need to stop buying the toys. I need to stop doing the promotion. I need to maybe cut down on the amount of people that are working with me, and do more myself and just do it for fun, which is the reason I do it anyway. Number two was, which is one that I didn't really want to do, was just the heck with it and just get out of it altogether, which a couple times, there's times when you ebb and flow and times go bad and you're not in a very good mood, and I say the heck with it, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I go and I pout, and Debbie says, what would you do every weekend if you didn't go to a car show? And I don't quite honestly, I don't remember what I did before we started doing this. I don't remember what I did on the weekends to take up my time.
Right.
We did some traveling around the state and stuff, but anyway, or number three, what I use in my life a lot, go big or go home.
Right.
So I decided, moving into 2025 and definitely into 2026, it was go big or go home. So we still do media. We do a lot of media. I have a number of great people working with me and for me that we cover probably more events, more ground than probably anybody else in the area. Just because most people, and you're doing it yourself now, as a kind of like we did as a one-man show, where I have enough people out there where there's been weekends where I've had coverage, photographs in a Friday, Saturday, Sunday weekend of 7 or 8 different events.
Oh, wow.
And I don't want to say it that way, but nobody else is
right.
Really, is doing it. Not very many are doing.
That's a lot of coverage.
Yes, a lot of coverage. So the media side is kind of running itself to some extent, although we're making some changes, and we'll talk about that.
Sure.
But the event side is where we make our presence, where we hopefully, quite honestly, I'd be happy if the company made zero. If I showed a zero profit, we broke even, and all of the people that are working for me get paid for doing what they do, to some extent. And they're happy, and all the toys and the things that travel that I do and buy are covered. That's all I ever wanted to do.
Gotcha.
I never thought it would be something that we'd make money off of, that would be a full-time business. I work a full-time job like we talked about. So anyway, moving forward through the middle of 2025, and we've kind of have done some things that we wanted to do, have some momentum. Going into 2026, I guess just to be quite frank about it, in the Tampa Bay area, we will be a presence in the car show event arena in the Tampa Bay. We do a lot in St. Pete. We don't do as much in Tampa. I have some things working that I really, really want to do more things down here on the south side, on the other side of the bridge, Bradenton, Sarasota. Have a couple things working there that are either in the works or have been signed.
Right.
Finally, after about 5 years, 2026 is looking to be, hopefully, the fruition of what we wanted to do. That with the event side, we are going to be very, very busy.
Awesome. That sounds great. And that's actually one of the things that I was going to ask you. It's a good segue. Is I noticed when I first ran across your media that you were around the Tampa Bay area, but I've also seen you do shows or cover shows in Fort Myers. What's the area that Racers and Rods actually covers? Are you the entire state, or are you West Coast, or
well,
how does that work?
95% of what we do is Tampa Bay area.
Okay.
Is from Hillsborough, Pinellas County to South Sarasota, or down into the Port Charlotte area. That
Gotcha.
let's say most of what we do is there, but we do have events that we do if time and finances allow. Where every now and then we just think it's a good idea to travel. So we do a show actually coming up in January over in Ormond Beach, Daytona area called
nice.
Eastbound Get Down. This will be our third year there as a vendor or media coverage. We do that. We have been to the Atlanta Lowrider Super Show.
Mm-hmm.
We went up there specifically for the show. We do the one in Tampa every year. We are a media presence there. We are probably the smallest media company that gets access to that show, which we're very, very proud of.
Nice.
The gentleman there, Carlos Beckers, who puts that on. We earned his trust, I think, and there's a lot of major media influences that come into town for that show because it's a very large show.
Gotcha.
And like I said, we definitely are grateful, and we're a small fish in a big pond. So we've done Atlanta. We've done a Toys for Tots show for a buddy of mine up in the Adel, Georgia, South Georgia area. We've done a Toys for Tots show for him. So if it allows, we do travel.
Gotcha.
My wife and I travel, as we can during the year. We like the Georgia mountains. We like Tennessee. So as we were discussing before we started here, we were in Tennessee a couple years ago. We were up there on the side of a mountain in a very secluded farm for 4 weeks, and within about an hour of there, in those 4 weeks, I found 3 very large car and truck shows that I covered.
There you go.
In Sevierville and in Greenville, Tennessee, and in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. So we've traveled as much as we can. I would like to expand that if time and money allows.
Right.
But mostly within a couple hours.
So speaking of your travel up there to Tennessee, I kind of recall a story that you were telling me, I believe at one of the car shows just recently, that you ran across some, I believe, younger people or with some cars up there, and it sounded like a pretty cool story. They were following your channel. Tell me about that.
It's kind of funny because, like I said, like everything in life, you have good times and bad times, and there's times where things don't go your way. It seems like more of a burden than it's worth. You're spending a lot of money for nothing, so you kind of get down on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happens that usually when you get down on yourself like that, something happens in your life
Mm-hmm.
that changes your attitude. And not that it was necessarily a downtime, but we were in Richmond, Virginia, visiting a family member for 2 weeks, staying in a hotel. And like everywhere we go, if we go like that, I Google is there a car show?
Got to see the local events, right?
Got to see. So I found one about an hour away in Spotsylvania, Virginia. It was kind of off the beaten path. It was at a big high school, not much around. Reached out to the young man Cody who was running it. It was it's called 65 Roses. It's for a charity organization.
Okay.
And he said, "Yeah, we'd love to have you come." So we came and we set up, and it was amazing. There were really, probably 500 to 600 cars there.
Oh wow!
And it was exciting because I had never seen any of them before, which is kind of unique.
That's always nice.
It's always nice when you're not in your area.
Yeah.
So I'm doing double duty. I'm walking around. I have my Canon camera. I'm shooting photos. I have a GoPro mounted on top of it. I'm trying to do is double duty because I'm by myself doing as much media as I can. I run across a young man who has it was a BMW, and it had a livery on it that was breast cancer. I think it was breast cancer. I thought it was kind of cool, and it's neat when somebody puts that on their car. So here I am, I'm filming his car, and standing in front of it, and like usual, like I always do, I'm a big promotions guy. I have my logo on my shirt, And he's kind of looking at me funny. He picks his phone up out of the car and he's scrolling and he says, "Wait a minute." He goes, "Are you Racers and Rods?" And I said, "Yeah." And he says, and he's scrolling on his phone. And he said, "This Racers and Rods," and he brings up my YouTube channel. And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "Aren't you from Tampa, Florida?" And I said, "Well, yeah, basically." And he says, "You know, what the heck are you doing here?" I said, "Well, we have family up here, just so happened to be here, wanted to come cover the show." And he was pretty excited. He's like, "Wow, me and my buddies, you know, we follow you on YouTube. I've got like 6 or 8 guys. We're in kind of a little car club. And, you know, you guys have different stuff. You have lowriders and you have things down there that we don't have here. So, you know, seeing something that's different than what we have is really cool. We all follow you and we talk about your YouTube videos that you put up." So, of course, your ego is, you know, my head's getting bigger. You know, wow. And so, you know, that was pretty cool. And I didn't think about it at the time. So I always have stickers, gave him some stickers out of my pocket. Can I have some for my buddies? Yeah. So I got ready to walk away and I turned back around and I said, "You mind being on camera?" And he said, I don't know why. And I said, "Well, you know, I do video. I'm going to do a video of this show." And he said, yeah. And I said, "Stand in front of your car. Tell me who you are, where you're from. Tell me about your car. And at the end of it, say you're watching Racers and Rods." "Oh, yeah, I've seen that before." So it took him, I think, 2 or 3 takes. You know, he stumbled a little bit, so we did it. He finally got it. And gave him more stickers, card, shook his hand. "Oh, thanks, buddy," you know, walked away. And I said, "Yeah, you know, in a couple weeks, check out the video." So, you know, somewhere at the beginning of the video, I put him in there. So about 2 weeks later, I get an email from him, and he goes, "Oh my God, you know, my buddy, I'm so cool. I'm on YouTube. My buddies think I'm the coolest guy in the world and everything." So, you know, when you get times when you think you're not making a presence,
a difference in somebody's life,
and difference in somebody's life or something. And you know, we've got, I mean, we're a little over. We weren't at the time. We're over 4,000 followers, which you know is a lot, but it's not, you know, compared to the big guys out there. But when something like that happens, and you go back and you think about it, and you go, "Man, I was 850 miles away from home." And at a car show, and somebody recognized me.
That's kind of humbling.
Yeah, it is, and that's where it's satisfying to the point of, you know, maybe there are people out there that are watching what we do. So so in times when I get down on myself, I remember those moments. And go, yeah, you know, every now and then you get, actually, just real quickly, funny story. So my son Aaron, who works with us, he's always wearing, like me, he's always wearing one of our shirts. I met a lady and her husband who have a Camaro. Haven't heard from her for a while, but her husband was having some health problems. And she used to go to a lot of shows, but she also did autocross in her car. And I met her a couple times. We wanted to do a feature on her car and that sort of thing. So my son was with his friends, and they were at Hollow Scream, or one of those things at you know, one of the theme parks, you know. And he was sitting at a table drinking a beer because he was taking a rest. And you know how many thousands and thousands of people are in the park that night. And this lady walks by and backs up with her husband and goes, "Racers and Rods?" And he goes, "Yeah." And she says, Are you Jim?" And he says, "No, I'm Aaron. I'm his son." Well, so it was her and her husband, of all the people to meet with thousands and thousands of people in the middle of Hollow Scream, you know, and it's dark out, and everything else, and he just happened to have a shirt on. And she's like, "Yeah, oh, I know your dad. I know you." So, and he was just like, he always talks about that, and the same thing. It's like, of all the places to be, in the middle of something with thousands of people, and somebody come up to you because you're wearing a T-shirt and go, "Hey, I know you."
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. That's what, you know, money aside, time aside, anything aside, you know, that's the stuff when you start thinking about it, that you might be making some kind of a presence that keeps you motivated, that keeps you going when you need that boost.
Exactly. Now, as far as like the Racers and Rods and Media, is that what you founded? Are you co-founder? How did that?
No, that was me. So it started off in a real strange way. So you know, my wife and I travel, and we do. She introduced me this 8 years ago to cruising. You know, on a cruise ship. We went on our first cruise, and I loved it. And she had been doing it for a long while with some friends of hers from work, and we still do that quite a bit. So it was just one of those things where I had a camera. I bought I think actually originally I probably did it on my phone, and I started doing videos and photos of our travels.
Okay.
And that was kind of before COVID hit and that sort of thing. And I'd go to a car show and here and there because, you know, my background, I have done a lot with cars and racing and that kind of stuff. So we go to a show and I do the same thing. I'd make some film of it, or I'd take some pictures and things. So we had I still have, which is very, very small. We've never really promoted it. Have a YouTube channel and a Facebook channel called Tuck Jam Adventures, which is a tie-in to both of our last names.
Okay.
And it was our travel channel, and it was just for family. It's not like the old days. I'm an old school guy. I'm an old guy where, you know, you used to take your picture and your Instamatic camera, and you take your pictures and you go to Eckerd Drugs or CVS and you develop them.
I remember those days.
Yeah, and then the family would have to endure you, you know, showing them the pictures. Well, nowadays, of course, you do it online. Correct. So I started a YouTube channel and just started throwing stuff up there. No editing, nothing really big.
Right.
And we started doing some car shows. So I started just putting those up there just because it was what it was.
It was an interest of yours, yeah.
So after kind of the COVID situation started and kind of finished, it was the first year they had one of the, which is huge now, one of the drag racing, the drag and drive events called Sick Week. And it started and initiated at Bradenton Motorsports Park here. And you have to drive the car that they raced around 5 different tracks in Florida and South Georgia and then back to. So my son and I went, Aaron and I went, and we covered that. And gosh, we took thousands of photos. We went up to as many people as we could and just said, you know, hey, we're local media people. Can you tell us who you are and tell us about your car? Well, you're a car guy. If anybody puts a camera in front of your face and says, tell me about your car, you're going to tell me about your car. So we had all this footage, and I said, I don't think we should put this on our travel channel. I think we should come up with something that's car related. So I started writing down names and found a couple that I liked and went out on YouTube and looked, and they were already taken, which I didn't want to do, although you can, but I didn't want to do that.
Correct.
So long story short, back in the 80s when I was first into cars and trucks and things, there was a car club, a classic car club in Sarasota called Cars and Rods of Sarasota. And
I was a member of that a long time ago.
And I hung around. I did a lot of their shows and everything.
Gotcha.
So I kind of took from that, and that's where Racers and Rods kind of came from. Cars and Rods of Sarasota. So that's how it started, and it really started only because of Sick Week, that we had all of this video and wanted to put it somewhere and didn't want to put it on my travel channel. So, you know, Racers and Rods. So originally it was called Racers and Rods, and I don't know if I coined the phrase or not. I always tell everybody I did. I probably didn't because I'm not that smart, but it was Racers and Rods Automotive Media. So I thought Automotive Media was a pretty cool, catchy little name. Yeah. So that's what we started as, and it was just a hobby. Just started doing some car shows, and it's funny going back. Every now and then I go back on our YouTube channel and look at some of the local Sarasota shows here when they started doing Cars and Coffee and some of those kind of things that we did from, you know, I guess 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
And the videos are horrible.
Not as honed as they are.
Well, I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know how to do anything. I had I didn't have good equipment.
Right.
I look back at them and go, gosh, why did I ever put that out on YouTube? But that's what we did. So that's
everybody has to start.
Everybody has to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere.
I'm in that stage myself, I think.
So we've evolved. Well, you're a little bit more advanced than that, but ours were really pretty bad. So that's where it started, and it just started as, like I said, just kind of a hobby thing.
Gotcha.
And I'm one of those people, I guess, when I get involved in something, I don't get halfway involved in anything. I have to be immersed in it. So I started buying equipment and buying things, and we bought, we started advertising ourselves and doing it a little bit differently.
Right.
So, and now, now I guess this is kind of the third iteration. It went from Racers and Rods Automotive Media to Racers and Rods Media Network, because we wanted to do some more media things. And then since now, like we said, with the events, it's now still Racers and Rods, but Racers and Rods Media and Events.
And events, yeah, gotcha.
So that's how we got to where we are today.
So let's talk about some of the past, I guess, interests. So as of right now, currently, you don't have you don't own a special interest vehicle, but
I always tell everyone that I live vicariously through everyone that I meet.
That's what you've told me.
Yeah.
But you do have a passion for them. You have a passion
Yes.
for the car culture, and you just hit on that by saying that you have done a lot with cars in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me where that passion comes from and what that experience.
Well, way back, my father, back into the 50s, everybody in my family, my brother and my sister, I have an older brother, older sister, my father, everyone have always been into motorcycles. They've always had Harleys. My dad was an Indian guy back in the 50s and Harley rider. And my brother and sister and her husband all still have Harleys to today. So it was a lot of motorcycles, but back in the 70s, my brother had a custom van that everybody had back then, with the bed in the back and the shag.
Yep.
My sister had a Dodge Dart that was had the Krager SS's on it, and it was a sharp car. My brother-in-law, who they dated since high school, he was a car painter, auto body man all of his life, so he always had something custom. So there was always something around, whether it was a custom car, it was something unique.
Right.
And then my family raced a lot. We had an uncle that had interest in a stock car that they used to run on dirt tracks back in I'm from the Baltimore area.
Okay.
Baltimore or Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, back in the 50s and 60s. He was a part owner in that. We had a friend of the family that drove the car. It was an old Pontiac. And even before I was born, my mom and dad used to travel on the weekends to the dirt tracks and watch the car race.
Gotcha.
So I've always been into something like that. I've always liked, my dad was a big NASCAR guy, loved Dale Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt was his guy. And on NASCAR weekends or Sundays when the race was going on, if you went to my dad's house, you didn't get to talk to him because the TV was turned up full blast where it sounded like you were sitting in the stands at Daytona. And the only time he talked to you was during commercial breaks.
That's funny.
And so we've always been around racing and around cars and that sort of thing. So my first car, I bought it when I was 15. My brother-in-law and my dad had it painted. My brother-in-law painted it for my 16th birthday. It was hidden in the garage and I didn't know it. Was a 1972 Mustang Mach 1.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was not a good first car for a 16-year-old. And the body style. People either love them or hate them. They're kind of ugly. But you sit in it, and it sits a lot like a Corvette. You can't see the end of the hood. You can't see out the back window.
Right.
Not really that good for a fledgling driver that didn't know how to drive with a car that would do 140 or 50 miles an hour. Not a good idea.
Didn't work out so well.
No, well, so now I wish I had that car back.
Right.
So I had a couple other things, and then in the late 80s, my best friend got me into the mini truck scene.
Oh yeah,
and I highly got into that. I was the president of a Sarasota local mini truck club called Simply Irresistible Minis. We had about 15 or 20 members. We went to shows all over the state. A lot of them in Orlando area and that sort of thing. As that culture in the 80s and 90s got huge.
It was.
We went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina every year.
They used to have one up in Pigeon Forge too, if I remember correctly. A mini truck show.
So we would travel a bit, and that truck was my daily driver. I drove it back and forth to work every day, but ended up had some work done to it. Had it about a year or so, and ended up lady pulled out in front of me, tore the front end off of it, had a major accident. But that was the turning point, and it was kind of like another one of those things: go big or go home. It was my chance to. Now that it's tore apart, now what can I do? So new wheels, took stuff off the motor, chromed and polished everything on the motor, new ground effects topper, new interior. So it came out of the shop as a totally different animal than it went in as. And I was very successful,
opportunity for improvement.
Very successful at a lot of shows,
Good,
and I used to take that to the shows in Sarasota with Cars and Rods.
Gotcha.
And I was considered myself, even though I was late, early 20s or whatever, because I was around it all my life. I always loved old school hot rods.
Right.
I always loved 50s and 60s and all of that. So even though I was younger, probably it could have been son or grandson of a lot of the guys there.
Sure.
I fit in a little bit because I loved that kind of stuff, and I actually even mimicked some of that into, even though I was driving a mini truck. One of the very few that the old school I had, the truck was red. It was called Cherry-O. And it had cherries etched on the windows. The old school, everybody used to have the etched windows. The guy used to come out. Nobody anymore ever does that.
No,
so that was kind of an homage, I guess, a little bit back to the old school hot rod days and that kind of stuff. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So let's say you got the opportunity to buy a dream car or a play car. What would find its way into your garage?
Well, so there's two answers to that, depending on which side of my brain I use. So,
okay.
The first side is from a standpoint of racers and rods. When we travel to a lot of these shows, we travel as a vendor. We take tables, we take our tents. I take a lot of equipment. I take chairs, especially when we're traveling out of town and that sort of thing. So it's very difficult to travel. We have two small SUVs, and we pack the SUVs to the hilt with all of the stuff that we take with us. So from that standpoint, I've always wanted to have either an old, like a Divco milk truck, ice cream truck, something, or even an older, like a 60s station wagon. Like a Woody wagon or something like that.
Yes.
Something that had a modern drivetrain in it, where it wasn't, we could drive it anywhere. I could take it to Tennessee and not have to worry about it breaking down.
Sure.
Modern suspension. Love to have something that's airbag, that you can. So something like that, even if it was patinaed or, whatever the case may be, we could have kind of an old school logo put on the side of it or something. So it would be kind of we always call it the Racers and Rods Mobile.
Yeah, that would.
That we could go and not only be a vendor and be media and be all that we are from that side of it, but also be part of the show.
Right.
Be able to take it and park it and have people look at it and things like that. So
that would be cool. Yeah.
That would be from one side of my brain what I would love to be able to do. So I have something like that. The other side of it, if I could, from a personal standpoint. I'd love something that I could take out on the weekends and take the top down, whether a couple different things, either an old school, like a high boy, some kind of old roadster, like a 30s, 34 Ford, some kind of little roadster, two-seater or something that we just take out and cruise. You want to go to breakfast on the weekend or take it to a show. I have a really soft spot in my heart for bigger iron, either like a slab side Lincoln, with the suicide doors, or a big Cadillac, 59 Caddy or something like that. So
that's cool.
So that would be, from a personal standpoint, it would be either something like that was really small or really big. If it wasn't the Racers and Rods Mobile.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. Yeah, those are definitely some top choices for sure for something that you can have fun on the weekend.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So not everyone can just step in front of a crowd and talk on the microphone, and I know that firsthand. I almost fainted the first time I did it. So just tell me a little bit, how did you find yourself in that position? When was the moment that you said, hey, I can do that?
I've tried to figure that out. Because going way back, we were all in middle school and high school and stuff, and you had to get up and give a book report, or an English class you had to read from a book.
I hated those.
And I was horrible.
Right.
I had such anxiety. My face and my neck would get red, and I would stumble over. I remember trying to read books in English class and having kids laugh at me because I stumbled over words and said words that I read that I read one way and said it was something else. And then even into my early career in, as we talked about, I was in IT.
Right.
And I used to have to get up and talk in meetings and stuff. And I had huge anxiety about doing that. Somewhere along the line, and I don't know where it was, I got into, I was still kind of in IT, but I was working with a buddy of mine. I got into sales, and we were selling business telephone systems. And I did some sales positions and started running with that. And, told a lot of people when I was doing interviews at a couple jobs that if I could never be kind of the used car salesman, because if I didn't believe in the product, I couldn't sell it. And the products that we were selling from a business phone standpoint, I knew them, I believed in them. And even the company that we were working for was a very small company. They'd send one of their regional guys to help us with some big projects and things. And I'd say, no, I don't want you to speak to them. I want to speak to them. Somewhere in there, I found out that I could be nervous, but if I knew the content and I believed in what I was saying, I could be reasonably articulate. I guess. And I always tried, writing down notes, writing down what I was going to say. I can't do that. I have an idea in my mind of what I want to say, and a lot of the things that we do now, where we do a promo or something for a show. I use a lot of times I don't do it I don't hit it on the first take, but I get that flow going and something in my brain switches and I go into that showman P.T. Barnum mode, and it just
comes off the cuff at that
point. It just comes out. And when we first started doing Racers and Rods, we were doing some interviews at some shows and things like that. I had one gentleman, we did an interview with him. It's a good friend of ours, Paul, is still around today. Actually works up at Gateway Classic Cars.
Okay.
And he used to tell me, Jim, you really should be in front of the camera. He said you have the voice for it. I kind of have a little bit of a deep voice, and when I do promos and I do speaking engagements, I slow down and kind of get the deep voice going and blah 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 blah. He said, you really have a good voice. You really need to do, because I even did a few where I did voiceovers on feature cars that we did, but didn't put my face in front of the camera.
Gotcha.
And he said, you really start doing that. So I tried it a few times, and the first time, it doesn't always work well, maybe not. But somewhere along the line, something hit. And I had a gentleman actually that I met at a place in Kansas, in Galena, Kansas, on Route 66. I know we'll talk about that.
Yep.
A place called Gearhead Curios has a big mohawk and stuff. His name's Aaron, and he and I hit it off really, really well. And one of the things that he told a story, it's on one of the videos on my YouTube channel, that he taught his daughters about. They were in a volleyball tournament or basketball tournament or something. Was if you can't be the best, be remembered. And nice. I never thought of it that way, but that should be printed. I should tattoo that on my arm. That should be my motto. If you can't be the best, be remembered.
Be remembered. That's good.
So now I love being in front of the camera. I have no problem, as you've seen. I mean, I DJ. I'm not a great DJ, but I like doing it. Our buddy DJ Brian Aiken, does a lot of our shows. Mm-hmm. And when we started doing that, a lot of times he'd come over and say, Jim, do you want to say something? And now he still allows me to do it, but he knows better, because when he hands me the mic, he might not get it back. So I don't know I don't know what it was or where it was, but that for some reason that showman comes out. And it's funny because, like, my son Aaron, he shakes his head sometimes, because you've seen me at some shows. I always wear my logo, but I have the Hot Rod the Flame shirts. My thing with my stickers and my caricature is the top hat with the goggles on it. I have one that has Rasta hair on it that I don't wear very much, but I keep that hidden. My wife doesn't like that one. And he just shakes I started with the visors with the Guy Fieri hair out of them. And he's like, Dad, you look like an idiot. And I go, yeah, but you know what? They remember that idiot. So that's kind of my motto. They remember the guy with the hair, or the guy with the top hat, or the guy with the stupid shirt. they, you know, when you go places, you know, you look at people on TV. That's the kind of people
They have
you
a
remember,
stick, right?
You have to have some kind of. If I can't be the best, at least you remember me. So that's the motto. That's my. I say that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
There you go. No, I think that's great. That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the Route 66 trip. You did have an opportunity to do a partial trip on Route 66.
Yep.
And you were telling me before we got started on the interview of a couple favorites. And so what's the takeaway from that? What was one of your favorite?
Oh my God, just so much to see. So I planned this for at least 3 months, almost 4 months before we went. You know, my partner, you know, my wife Debbie,
Right.
She is not the biggest fan of car shows. So just more recently, she's been going with me and helping and helping sign people in and that sort of thing. But she doesn't understand the allure of cars. So when I started talking about Route 66 and wanting to do that, it's really not about the cars. It's about Americana.
That's right.
You know,
the history.
It's the history.
Yeah.
And so I had to show her some videos online and some people that have done it. And she got interested because one of the things that we do a lot together is we like little old towns. We like antique stores, mom and pop places to eat. You know, almost like towns that time forgot.
Right.
And that is Route 66.
Right.
So I showed you I bought the books.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the videos. I did a spreadsheet. I was extremely prepared for Route 66. And since I work a full-time job, I didn't have time. We had time enough. We did 9 days over actually the 4th of July, the end of June, beginning of July. So we did about half. We were hoping, so we flew to Chicago, rented a car, and did Illinois, Missouri. There's about, depending on who you talk to, there's either 16 or 13 miles of Route 66 in Kansas. Not very much. Galena is pretty much the only town, but it's a super cool little town. Missouri, Oklahoma.
Right.
We were hoping to make it into Texas to see the Welcome to Texas sign, and then we would do Texas to the coast at a later date. We didn't quite make it to Texas.
Okay.
We had one down day where she didn't feel well, and we didn't make it as far. So we made it pretty close. We made it to a little town called Eric, Oklahoma, which is about 50 or 60 miles from the Texas line. But we spent 9 days. Never drove more than anywhere between 1,200 and 1,400 or 1,500 miles a day, which is nothing.
Right.
Because with my spreadsheet, I think those 9 days I had 170 some stops on it.
Wow.
And so we didn't see all of them, and there were a few we saw that weren't on the list.
Right.
But I had a very good game plan of how far we were going to go every day, which town we were going to stop in. Like I said, I don't think we ever did more than 140 or 50 miles in a day. But that took us, you know, we got up in the morning. You get out of the hotel at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, have yourself some breakfast, load the car, get on the road. And we didn't get into the next hotel at wherever we stayed that night till at least 6 or 6:30 at night. So it was a full day, even though we did 1,400 miles.
Right.
With 25, 30 stops during the day, whether they were museums, little roadside. There's a lot of welcome centers that are mostly old gas stations and that sort of thing. That have memorabilia and things in it, and some stuff about the town. Some car, a couple, 3 or 4 car museums, old bridges, you know, monuments, just a little bit of everything. There's so much to see that we could have spent twice that much time. There's towns where you could spend all day in just one town, just seeing things. So unfortunately, there's things that we missed. If I had a chance, I'd probably go back and start it over again and redo that part before we do the whole thing again. But just we talked about one place there in Missouri, in Carthage, Missouri.
Right.
It's called the lady's name was the gentleman that had it. His wife's name was Gay. So it's called the Gay Partina Station, and it's an old gas station with a house on the property and his old barn. and it's filled with license plates and memorabilia, and the people that now his daughter runs it with her husband, and like I said, we sat and talked with them.
Right.
We were way past our ETA. We were running late already. Sat and talked to them. I set a GoPro in front of her, and all this is on our YouTube channel, and just said, "Tell me about the place. Tell me about your dad's vision." And we sat there and talked to her and her husband for about 2 hours.
Wow.
Meeting those kind of people, meeting Aaron Perry, who him and I could be twin brothers from a different mother, not from what we look, but the way we act.
Right.
Because he has his shtick.
Right.
And he even told us, everybody that comes into his place is called Gearhead Curios. It's in Galena, Kansas. It's a little old gas station place. And he has the same shtick every time somebody comes in. He has the coolest bathroom on anywhere on Route 66. You need to go to YouTube. You need to find that video. There's
nice.
a video of, funny enough, of nothing but his bathroom.
Oh, wow.
That he's done. He's created there. But, those people make a living off of people that drive Route 66 as tourists.
Right.
I mean, we followed for 2 days. We followed two young men from Italy. We were about an hour behind them, because everywhere you went, if you go into the welcome stations, you signed the guest book and that sort of thing. We were about an hour or two behind them for like 2 days straight. They were from Italy. We met them. We met a young lady and two of her friends. She was from Sweden. They were from England. There's a lot of people that hear about it that come from Europe. There are groups that rent Harleys and ride Harleys. I know one guy that said he flew to California, bought a classic car in California, and drove it to Chicago.
Wow.
Which would be cool.
That was from another country.
That would be a cool way to do it.
Yeah, it would be a cool way to do it. Sure.
But yeah, so all of that just being, I don't think we spent more than 15 or 20 miles in 9 days. We did about a little over 1,400 miles.
Right.
In 9 days. I don't think we spent 15 or 20 miles on the interstate. There are a few places where you have to get on and get off.
Because some of the road doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, but a lot of it is either, there's 1930s road, 1940s road, 1960s road. We saw, Dead Man's Corner in Missouri. Just so many different things that you can stop and see. All the towns have murals painted on the walls, and they have, things like behind me, little places to stop, that are historic 66 sites and things. It was really as interesting as I thought it was going to be. We learned a lot about it, and I know a lot more about the history of it now than I did then. It took thousands of photos, but if you get a chance to do it, we met people that said, "Oh yeah, we did the same thing. We went from end to end, which is whatever it is, 3,500 miles or whatever, 3,000 miles." And we did it in 10 days. You
can't see anything.
You're not seeing what I mean. Granted, I'm a media guy. I'm a YouTuber, if you want to call me that, whatever you want to call us. So I went in and had a GoPro in front of everyone's face and interviewed people at different places. But the stories that you hear and the things that you see, and the little sites that were off the beaten path that we found, old bridges and old buildings and things, is just. Again, it's Americana. It's not, it's car related, obviously, and there are car museums, and the car museums were unbelievably awesome. They were so cool, but it's not even about that.
It's much larger than that.
It's just about the people who made that trek. Couldn't imagine driving those roads in the 1930s and 40s in the vehicles that they have. If you were going from, somewhere in Illinois and you wanted to see California, or you were moving. Oh my God! Even with today's technology, it was pretty rough. I don't know how they did it. I'm so glad that we did it. I'm so excited. Hopefully, we will be able to do the next part soon. We haven't decided yet. We have another trip planned for next year, so it won't be next year. Maybe 2027, and we may wait a few years till, hopefully, fingers crossed, that like I was talking about, that I may be able to retire. And about, if we do that, I may go back and we may just go and do the whole thing over again.
And that's something that me and my wife want to do, and so I'm going to preach to myself when I say that to you guys. If you have an opportunity to do what Jim and his wife did, implore you. I'm preaching to myself too. We've been wanting to do Route 66 for years, so do it before you get too old to.
And even if you're for some reason, we met a few people that the one gentleman, he was from Texas, and he worked for a company, and they sent him to Oklahoma for some kind of a corporate thing.
Right.
And he and his wife decided to drive, and they decided to just take 66 all the way. So they didn't do a lot of it. They maybe just want. So if you have the opportunity, if you're in any of the states, those 9 states, I think it is,
piece of it, right?
Go see a piece of it, and when you do, you'll be hooked, and you want to do the rest of it, because just the people you meet and the things you see that have been around for a long while are pretty cool if you're into history at all.
Right, absolutely. So one of the things, kind of swinging back to the events and stuff that you're doing, that I've noticed, and I think is pretty cool because not a lot of people do it, is some of your events you do a theme. You might feature 50s hot rods on one event, and then the next. And this is probably more of your some of your monthly events in the past that I've been to. Another month might be a lowrider feature. Yeah, all cars are welcome, but you're spotlighting a particular genre of car. Is that something that you find is pretty popular with the cargo?
Yeah, it's kind of on and off, because there are the people out there where, especially if you're, a lot of what we cater to is the old school hot rod guys, the guys with the muscle cars, the guys with the 40s, 50s, 60s cars that have been around for a while, that don't go to shows for an award. They don't want to pay money to go to a show. They want to just go and take their car. They don't care if you like their car or not. Right. They go with their buddies. They want to talk shop.
Yep.
And it's a social thing. That's who I've kind of drawn myself, kind of put myself in that area and catered to that group. So the problem with the shows that are featured like that, we do that because we try to do something a little different.
Right.
That way it's just not the same guys at every show. And like you said, we did that at our monthly, kind of our cruise-in shows that we did here in Bradenton. Tried to change it up a little bit. So it works really well, because, if you see that and you're a lowrider person, or you're an import guy, or you're a muscle car guy, you look at it and go, oh, well, I need to, of course, you want your car to be seen, to be seen. So you take it out. So it draws that crowd. It draws a different crowd.
That may or may not
have been there. Try to get them hooked. Try to get them there one time. So I think it's definitely a positive, and we are going to do some of that starting again in 2026. And we do say, try to push. All makes and models are always welcome. What we're going to do a muscle car day. We're going to do one with 30s and 40s hot rods and rat rods. We're going to do an import day. We're going to do everything low, or a low rider day, that sort of thing. The only problem with that, and it might be that, everybody's into it again for a different reason.
True.
And you bring out different types of people, whether it's ethnicity or age and that sort of thing. And some of the groups don't want to see the import crowd there. They have, whether it's warranted or not, a bad reputation, for loud music, loud cars, whatever. Or the exotic crowd with what they do, or the lowrider crowd, or whatever it is. And I don't think it's warranted, but it is what it is. So you have to be very careful in doing that, to not try to exclude anyone, even though it's all makes and models, to have some of the guys that are there a lot and pay the bills, so to speak, or fill the lot,
right,
and have it say, oh, well, it's an import, we're featuring imports this month, or lowriders, and go, I don't want to come out with those guys, Because everybody has their opinion.
And on the flip side, not everybody relates to a hot rod either. Unfortunately,
that's true.
Even though we do, and a lot of people do, and they like to see them, but that's not everybody's thing either.
Right. Yeah. So everybody, there are those markets.
Right.
So it's a fine line of trying to do something different and bringing out a different crowd versus are you stepping on your own feet with the people that back you the most.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. And sometimes it's been successful and sometimes it hasn't.
Right.
So we'll continue to do a little bit of that.
Right.
But
the intent is to try to be all inclusive.
Anytime we don't. We have done some nights up in St. Pete. We've done some JDM nights.
Yep.
And it was kind of funny because that crowd was there and we did okay. We didn't have a ton of guys there, but a lot of them, they loved it and we're hanging out and talking and they're mostly a younger crowd and. It just so happened that some of the guys I know that are in one of the lowrider groups were out cruising that night, and they decided to come and not infiltrate, but come and so about 5 or 6 of them came in and parked and did their thing and their hydraulics and all the cool stuff that we like. And some of the people that were there thought it was really cool, and some of them got a little bit of an attitude because it was JDM night, it wasn't lowrider night. I don't care, man. We've been to everything, soup to nuts, everything in between. We've been with every group of people at shows, especially Aaron, my son, and I. We've been to shows where I signed up to go as media, and he said, "Dad, are you sure we want to go to this show?" Yeah, so. It's we do it because it's something different. Just try to be what can you do that's unique, that makes your show not like every other cookie cutter show. And like you said, you can look on FloridaCarshows.com and any weekend you could pick probably 4 or 5 shows to go to.
Right. So
what would make you pick a Racers and Rod show over the other ones? So we have to come up with some kind of some reason to do that, and that's one of them, of just being unique on what we feature that month, and it's just a feature. Right. It's not like the other guys can't come.
And just recently, when we were at your show up at Quaker Steak and Lube, I thought the pinup model contest was an absolute blast. So there's something. I haven't seen it forever.
Yeah,
that was a really cool,
we've done that with Ray. We've done that a couple times with her. They like doing that. They do not only car shows, but Comic Cons and all kinds of shows. So it was kind of funny because we actually had our yearly lowrider event scheduled for that weekend, and they wanted to come out and do that because they fit in real well with the lowrider cars, with the pinup gals, and. We ended up having to cancel it because there was other stuff in the lowrider community going on during, before, and after. I couldn't get people to commit. They were all cleaning and building their cars for the biggest show around in the lowrider community, Slam Fest, which is here in a few weeks, up in Tampa. So I wasn't getting the amount of cars and groups, clubs signed up that I did. So I had to make a really tough decision and canceled it, and we already had the weekend, that date scheduled, and she already had girls signed up for the contest, and she kind of flipped on me a little bit, was a little not really happy, and I said, don't worry about it, we'll make lemonade out of lemons. So on a whim, we just changed it up and made what we called the Coastal Classic, kind of an old school car show. We did it for free. And
it turned out.
Wow, so we, you don't want to see the pinup girl contest at every show, because again, it'll just be another. So we do it a couple times a year. We actually had her and her group. She had about 4 ladies with her when we did our veteran show here in Sarasota last year, which will be coming up again March 7th. You need to follow us online, March 7th. Now there can be another big, huge show here in Sarasota that turned out very well last year.
It did.
And they were there to just come and support us, take photos with the cars, which is awesome. The guys love that. And they sold raffle and 50-50 tickets for us. And quite honestly, the show that you were talking about last weekend, you know, and I think I said it a couple times, you know, as I was helping DJ there over the mic, who do you want to buy a raffle ticket from? One of those girls or me?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm, you know.
Those girls are going to sell them.
It's not rocket scientist. You know, you look at the demographic and the, you know, the demographic there are, you know, probably 40 to 70-year-old men. And the girls are outgoing and they're pretty and, you know, they're showing a little skin. So it's not, you know, come on, it's not rocket science. So they did very, very well. And they did the same thing at our Veterans Show last year. They sold a ton of raffle tickets. So, so we try to keep things open with that group, and like I said, even if they're not there doing a full blown contest, which is and that was their own entity. She handled all of that. That was you know, we added an hour to the car show so they could do that part of it. But there are a number of shows where we're going to have her and a few of the other ladies come out and just be there for photo opportunities. And like I said, just help us sell raffle tickets. So, so that's not a one-off thing, but we don't want to do it every weekend.
Right,
either.
like anything, it's in moderation. It's cool to sprinkle that stuff in.
Just one of the things. And like you said, I don't think there's very many other promoters or shows in the area. That I know they do one at Slamfest, which they did last year. It's the first year they did it there with another group, and it was successful. And they're doing it again this year. But not very many shows are doing, that kind of stuff. You have, like the import shows and the lowrider shows have the ladies.
Yes, they do.
Whether it's but that's a whole different animal to itself.
Yeah,
they're a little more scantily clad. It's not the pinup style.
Correct.
But I think the pinup style goes really well with the guys with the old school cars with the 50s, 60s.
I think it fits right.
It fits right in. They had their own. They had a couple other photographers there other than Sid, who was with me. Right. And they came up with and they were able to get with some of the owners and sit in a few of the cars and which we don't condone unless they have. But they had they came out with some unbelievable photos of the girls dressed like that in some of these old school hot rods and cars.
They turned out well. I saw them online.
Yeah, very, very cool. So we're happy. We're super happy with that. So so they do a great job. Yeah.
One of the other things that I see you featuring on the YouTube channel is you're kicking up a notch on covering the local businesses and the that are in the support the car culture. So how's that working out? How's that?
Starting slow, but I think that's going to be so. I guess to back up a little bit, and nothing against anybody, and nothing against. I mean, you actually have a little bit more different content from the beginning. But when we started, we were like a lot of guys, and there's a lot of people out there that have either YouTube channels or whatever, Instagram or whatever they're doing that are covering car shows. I mean, we have people that cover our car shows like that. If you have a decent phone and a little gimbal or something, almost anybody can go out and shoot videos of a car show.
Right.
So we were getting to the point where I was looking at it and saying, we need to do something different. What are they not doing out there? What do we need to do that's different than just, here's a car show?
Right.
So part of that is, and we're slowly but surely migrating this. Our videos are not going to be about, here's a video of us walking around all 70 cars, 100 cars that are in the parking lot. It's going to be, here's a snapshot of the more of the vibe of the show, what the feeling was. Right. Here are some of the cars moving in and out. Here are but here are the people there. Yes. Here are the owners. Here are the spectators, and more interviews with those kind of people that are not cookie cutter interviews, but just on a going up to someone and say, hey, tell me about your car. Tell me, we did this. We just did a show with Import Evolution at the fairgrounds. It was inside. It was about 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. That was the first one. We did about 8 interviews there of people. Hey, tell me who you are. Tell me about your car. What do you think about the show? What do you think they should change about the show? That was the first year, apparently, they did that Import Evolution show that they allowed cars that were not imports there. Some of the guys liked it, some of the guys didn't. What do you think about that? So more of that sort of entertainment of, again, not just walking around and showing cars. Right. But here's the here was the feel, here was the vibe of the show, here's what the show was about, and more interviews, more quick takes, more, I tell some of the people that have gotten into this and starting to do car show videos and things. One of the things that's my pet peeve, I guess, and that I tell them is, and sometimes you don't think about this, is the right side of the car, 99% of the times, the right side of the car looks exactly like the left side of the car. So why would you walk around the car and shoot both?
Right.
All it does is make, a car show that, and I was as guilty of this as anybody else. Our old videos, I said, were horrible.
Right.
I've looked at videos where other YouTubers have been there at the same time, and their video is 45 minutes long, and mine's 12 minutes.
Right.
People's attention spans nowadays, because of media and because of Instagram and TikTok, are very, very, very small. So you need to get it in, get it done, get it out.
That's right.
So walking around the car really doesn't help, because, like I said, the left side looks probably just like the right side does.
Good point.
So I think that's a good point. But so back to your question. So part of it is that evolution of how do we shoot a car show that doesn't just walk around and show everybody's car, shows what the feel of the show was. Talk to the people, talk to the promoters, talk to spectators, talk to car owners, get a lot of that input in those. And, are we good at it yet? No, but we know where we want to go with that. So part of that is a young man who is working with us now that lives down in Venice. His name is Dan Fisher, and his background is in journalism. And he and I probably couldn't be, as far as the way we speak, the way we act, the way we think, probably couldn't be any more 180 degrees. He's the first person that I've ever let edit and do his own videos for Racers and Rods. Up to this point, everything's been me.
Right.
I control it, and also to be in front of the camera. He has a very old school, I always call it like the 80s, 90s motor trend. Dennis Gage, he had those fantastic, those unique cars, something on TV. Dan has that feel to him.
Gotcha.
He's done some projects on his own on the history of the Grand Prix racing in Florida, with a lot of old footage from the 50s or 60s and 70s and 80s. And
cool.
That's not everybody's cup of tea, but that's what interests him. So he's run with a lot of this. So we have a series on there we call the Inside Drive, which is kind of going to be the behind the scenes of the car culture.
Nice.
Is kind of the idea behind it. So part of that is when we go to car shows now, just little 2, 3, 4, 5 minute interviews with people, and tell us about your car.
Right.
Tell us about you and tell us about your car. I just did a few of those last weekend or a couple weekends ago. So we try to roll one of those out every Friday on our YouTube channel. And so that's part of the Inside Drive, and then we have some interviews and some things coming up with the racing community that he's looking at doing. Actually, interviewing some very well-known racers from back in the 70s and 80s that were in Florida. We're actually working on one hopefully with Don Garlitz that we're going to do with him. So
one of the last few greats that are.
Yes, absolutely. So that's part of it. Not to really kind of going off on a tangent answer your question, but this is a whole part of what we want to do, how we want to evolve that media side of what we're doing into something that's a little bit more than just, they show car shows. Well, but everybody shows car shows. So, and you've done some of that. Some of the things where you stop on the side of the road and see cars, and some of the things that you're doing even early that are like, that's the kind of stuff that we want to do.
Right.
So part of that is we did our first one that we rolled out a couple weeks ago. That's pretty interesting. You need to check that out on YouTube channel. From here in Palmetto, a very underutilized, not underutilized, but well-known, hidden, I guess, gem of a place called DNA Resto Mods. A gentleman named Dan runs the place, and they do very well. But they're very nondescript. They have some interest in some of the car shows. They sponsor the awards
Right.
at the Foxbrook show,
Right.
which is coming up. They sponsor the awards, a lot of the awards at the Crossings Church show
Right.
up in Ruskin. So they are in the car community around the area, but he doesn't have a logo on the front of his building or anything. So and he has a I think it's in the video it's 4,500 square feet or something. They had 4 or 5 cars in there at a time,
Right.
but they do everything from restoration and motor suspension to he's got a 70 CUDA in there that's a massive build, that's a body off going from a unibody car to a full framed car that's going to have a modern Hellcat drivetrain in it.
Right.
It's going to be a crazy car. So they do high end builds.
Right.
So we did an interview with him and walked around his shop,
Yep.
as you've seen,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna keep with that genre, I guess, and we're also going to keep up with him because he has that car, the CUDA there, and he also has a 37 Ford Roadster that a gentleman owns that is a little bit closer to coming back to life. It was actually a tear down and redo.
Right.
That we're going to go back and probably every 30 days follow up and see what the car's like. So we've done the progression.
Yeah,
We've done
cool.
a couple of those in the past that actually have been some of our most popular videos that have been out there 2 and 3 and 4 years, where we did a few that on a gentleman that had an old cab over, an international cab over. He has yet to finish it. But those probably, if we go out over the past 3 or 4 years, are probably the most watched videos on our site.
Nice.
So that's where we're going. So we have a couple more lined up, a couple more shops locally, a couple more that we're going to try to get to. Like I said, we're going to try to get to Don Garlett's. Not that he's a body shop or a custom shop, but more of that sort of content of some behind the scenes.
Right.
Rather than just shooting car shows. We want to evolve that to the next level and hopefully gain viewership and have those things gain some foothold as far as number of views and things.
Right.
We know we're not going to be rich. We're not going to make a lot of money off of it, but it does. All it does is it makes our name that much more well known. So when we go to Virginia and somebody recognizes us, so that's what you can look for on Races and Rods, especially on the YouTube channel.
Right.
Is the inside drive. It's going to be feature car videos, short feature car videos, and then a lot of behind the scenes, whether it's racing, either racers or tracks or promoters or car builders. We've already got the approval. A lot of people know Rooster's Rod Shop in St. Pete or in Clearwater. They do a lot at Quaker Steak and Lube. We have the John there. We're going to do an interview and we're going to walk around with them.
Good.
Saltworks, which they build some of the most beautiful cars you ever want to see, and a lot of people don't even know who they are. They're out here in Mayaca. Tom Speed, awesome guy. He's been one of the ones I credit people like that. That, like I said, we're a very small fish in a big pond, and we go to builders or we go to shows like the Tampa, Lowrider Super Show.
Right.
Those people don't need to give us the time of day because we're this big compared to. And Tom's another one. He builds extremely high end, extremely beautiful hot rods. And I met him a number of years ago at a local Cars and Coffee. Didn't know who he was. Found out who he was, and he invited me out to the shop. And we have carte blanche. Anytime we want to go to his shop, we go out there. And I always ask him, "Is there anything in here I can't video or I can't shoot?
Right,
Is something
right.
that's a project that hasn't been unveiled yet?" And he looks around and he'll say, "No, just stay out of the guy's way and shoot." So we've done his Christmas party and done some stuff out there. So
Nice.
he's another one. So we're looking for more and more of those sort of things. We have a gentleman we met. His name is Nate at the Import Evolution show that has a it's a Toyota Sienna, like a minivan, and it's painted Lamborghini purple, and he's with a group of guys that are like dads that have custom vans.
I think I saw that on the
Yeah,
channel.
they were
all lined up at that.
Yeah, it's in the video for the Import Evolution.
I was like, I never even knew people were doing
yeah,
but
and it's like the new iteration of the '70s minivan.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
He said, "I'm a dad. I've got 4 kids, and I want a custom car."
And that custom car has to work for him, right?
Yeah, you have to be able to load the family in it.
Yeah,
so come to find out, so he has a brand called Dad Swag, and he teaches apparently auto body at a Votech to kids in Orlando.
Nice.
And we asked him to shout out to the shop that helped him build his creation, paint it, and he said, "Me and my kids did it."
Nice.
So we've been in touch with him. We're going to go and we have to get permission from the school and the parents,
Right.
So that's the kind of thing that we're super interested in, because he's passing on that hot rod,
right,
gene to the next generation,
right.
And that's something we're super into, and we've been trying to figure out how do we cultivate that. And if he's doing it, we need to feature him. So so that sort of thing. So stay on the lookout out there. So we're that's from the media side. Our Inside Drive series is where we're going to grow going forward, and it's going to be more than just hey, we were at a car show today. It's why we were there, what we saw, who we met,
right,
and then if we meet the builders and meet people that we have a few that we're working on who it's just might be a guy that's got a collection of cars,
right,
has 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 or 20 or whatever in a warehouse somewhere, and he's passionate about a certain type of car or whatever.
Right.
So those are the kind of people that we've been in touch with. I have a huge list already, but it's just a matter of trying to get time to get to all of them. But so that's the long end. That's where we're going with that.
And car shows are fun and they're great to cover. But like you said, and it's something I live by as well. Every car and its owner has a story. They all have a reason and a path that got them there.
Right.
And then there's how did you get there, and it's all the people behind the scenes that makes that happen. So as far as the shops, the mechanics, the car clubs, all that.
Right. And the funny thing, not to, it's kind of on the same subject. It's really funny that I've been, like I said, we go to a lot of shows. I'll just take an example. You go to a local little Cars and Coffee or a little show, has 40, 50 cars there in the parking lot. And I've walked around and I learned now that even if it's something that doesn't appeal to you and you don't think is the fanciest car, take a look at it. Take a picture of it.
Right.
I walked past a gentleman one time, 3 or 4 times. And the 4th time I walked past him, he said, "You've walked by me and haven't taken a picture of my car." And I go, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're right." And I took a picture of it. Well, and I don't remember exactly what the car was, but as I started talking to him, it was a one-owner Survivor. And it wasn't the fanciest car in the lot. I met a guy when they used to have the car at the car museum here in Sarasota. They used to have a little car show there. Met a guy had a 71 Corvette Stingray, stock looking, pretty car, but not overly overwhelming or anything. Got to talking to him. It was a one-owner car. He was in Vietnam. He was in the Army. He was in Vietnam. He did 2 tours in Vietnam. And he told himself if he lived through Vietnam, when he come back, the first thing he was going to do was buy himself a Corvette. That's the car he bought.
Nice. And
it's never been touched. He had it at the show, and people were laughing, kind of looking at it, because he had cardboard on the dashboard. It was out in the sun. And he said it stays in the garage. He said this car has never been touched since the day I bought it in 1971. The only thing I've ever done is change the oil and tune it up and put tires on it.
What a great story.
And you would have never known that if you don't talk to the people behind the car. Because it might not be the fanciest, high dollar build, most assuming car in the parking lot. But I guarantee you walk around and talk to some of those people that have some of those ones that you probably wouldn't have even looked at. And sooner or later, you're going to find that guy. You're going to find that story where you go, wow.
Yeah.
That is cool.
That is cool.
Or it was owned by somebody in the family, or just whatever. There is a story behind it. So
absolutely.
That's what we're looking for.
Jim, it's been a pleasure to to go over and talk about all this stuff and what you guys are doing with them. Before we wrap up this interview, what are some of the big things coming up in 2026 for Racers and Rods? Anything that you'd like to be on the lookout for?
Do you have another hour? Like I said, we've tried to step up the event side of it, and we've been very lucky that we have met and friends with and business partners with a number of people that have gotten us and can get us where we want to go. We've had this vision, like I said, the go big or go home vision of doing more events. And, I see what people say online. I hear what people say. And like I said, we cater to a certain type of person. You come to my shows, you don't see a whole lot of exotics. You can go to other shows and see Cars and Coffee in Sarasota. Our buddy Jason that does the one up in Tampa. Our buddy Ralphie that I've learned a ton from. He's a great promoter, REM events, and see tons of exotic cars and a lot of the, like I said, the tuner crowd and things. For some reason, that's just, everybody kind of needs their spot. That's not my spot. You see very, very few of either one of those, especially the exotics at my shows. You're very shocked if we see one or two come in. The guys that follow me are the old school hot rod muscle car guys mostly. And a lot of them have been around a long time, and they remember, and I understand what they say, but you have to say too, it's 2025 going into 2026. Sorry guys, it's not 1970 anymore. It's just not. We wish it was, but it's not. So there's a lot of shows out there for whatever reason, whether the promoters are in it and they're giving money to charity, which is great, or they're doing it because the show costs a lot to put on, or they're doing it to make profit. It doesn't matter, whatever. There's the group that I cater to will not pay $20, $25, $30, $40 to go to a car show. Just fact. So somebody has to cater to them. Well, Racers and Rods will cater to them.
Nice.
I've made them the pact a year or so ago that unless it's something that I'm doing that's for even then, but if it's something that's a benefit that I don't have all full control over, if I'm just helping somebody host, whether it's a nonprofit or something. But if it's something I'm putting on that I can control the show, you will never pay more than $10 to come to a Racers and Rods show, ever. And more than likely, which a lot of the guys, shake their head, how are you doing it? And the old school guys tell you how to do it. You need to get backing behind you, which I have some things that I've been working on, some companies that are helping us, and we are going to put on at least a monthly car show, one every month at Quaker Steak and Lube in Clearwater. Those shows were going to be kind of a hybrid. If you wanted to compete for, a lot of the guys don't want to compete for awards. They want to come and hang out, like we said earlier. If you wanted to compete, it's $10. If you don't want to compete, you come cruise in and it's free. We were originally going to do that. We have some backing now. We've kind of announced it, but I'm not really going to fully announce it probably until towards the end of the year. But we have some sponsorship on board. All of those monthly shows that we're going to do at Quaker Steak and Lube next year are all going to be free of charge.
Nice.
Not a dime. Come if you want to spend a couple dollars. We're going to have some great raffle prizes. We're up in the ante there too. We're bringing in some sponsors and things to give us better raffle prizes to give away. What we do now, again, is all of our vendors, we don't charge the vendors a dime. The vendors come and set up for free. All we ask them is whatever you're selling, give us something to raffle off. And that's great. I think that helps. That helps. But they're not. So we have some more higher dollar items coming. We have some sponsors. We have some ways we're going to do that. So, so the big thing I would say next year to look for with Racers and Rods is everything we can do for free. We're going to do for free.
Good.
The money that we are going to make to support the shows, to run the shows, to do awards are going to be from sponsorships of companies that are wanting to come on board, that see the value in them being on the flyers, their name on the awards, having set up at the show and meet customers, and that sort of thing. So we've got a lot of that going on. We do a lot of our own awards and everything, so we can do this fairly cheap. But like I said, a lot of the guys, we had that free show we were talking about last weekend. All you had to do was come up to the desk and sign up and put a card in your window, and you would be judged. There was 10 or 15 cars in the parking lot that they didn't care for awards. They didn't even register, even though it was free. So
they were just there
and that's the crowd that we are going to cater to.
Gotcha.
So if you're into free car shows, even if it's we don't give away, you go to these things and it's 25 or 30 or 40 bucks. And hey, I'm not knocking the guys out there who are doing that. They're doing it for a reason. They're very successful, or they wouldn't be doing it. Giving away, 20, 30, 40, 80 awards or whatever. You're not going to see that at one of our shows. We're going to give away top 10. We're going to give away some best of class. We're going to do some things. We're going to give away 15 awards or so, probably in most cases. But you're going to pay $0.
Awesome.
To do that. So that's the like I said at the last show. I think we need to put that on the T-shirt. Our new slogan is going to be the best thing about free is it doesn't cost anything.
That's a great idea. I love it. Put it on a shirt.
Put it on a shirt.
Well, thank you again, Jim.
I appreciate it.
And thank you guys for watching.
Yes,
we hope you enjoyed the video. Tell them how can they connect with you.
Racers and Rods, anywhere. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We have a couple different spots. Facebook, you can go out, Racers and Rods Media and Events. We also have a business page, Racers and Rods Hosting and Events, that we actually just publish most of our events on there. But anywhere you go, we're on TikTok. You never know where we might be. Search for Racers and Rods, you'll find us. We'll be there.
Awesome. And you guys have a blessed day, and we'll see you on the streets.
Thank you very much.